Hey, everybody. Let me turn my face around there. There you go. Hey, everybody. I am here to show you how to create some custom worlds. I have a new seasonal server opening up this Friday. That's going to be 2 servers, actually. There'll be one for PC and one for Xbox. I don't want to enable crossplay yet, so PC and Xbox players can play together because there's still a few issues. But hopefully, as soon as they resolve, Iron Gate resolves those issues, I will open it up so that we can have everybody playing together, which would be pretty fun. But in the meantime, I know there are a lot of Xbox players out there who want to play a custom world. So I have spent several hundred hours learning these mods. And today I have with me the modder, who I have spent, it's probably been more than a year now, maybe a year and a half, going back and forth, testing his mods, telling him all the wonderful things I'd like to be able to do for my servers and my players. And him being a programmer is always up for the challenge. Thank you for joining me today, Jere Kuusela. How are you doing?
Thanks, I'm doing fine, and it's nice to be here to tell people about these tools.
Yeah, these tools are amazing, and I'm going to just show you the list of tools that we're going to be using today are right here. We're going to go over these in a little bit, but there's a quick little preview. I'll explain here in a minute, but first off, I want to give you a little preview of my new Season 4 server that is going to be launching on this Friday. And the name of the modder, by the way, is down in the description if you guys are interested in looking, checking out who he is and look up his mods. I'm actually going to go to his modder page. I'm going to show you guys all this stuff. So stick around. You guys are going to see all kinds of cool stuff today. And we have the modder here. Like I said, I've been working with him for like a year and a half. So we have a lot of back and forth. We've seen the evolution. It's amazing. I remember back in the day when all I had were the Iron Gates spawn command, and then Jere gave me the ability to point at an object. You remember this, Jere? I could point at it, and I say, Jere, I want to be able to turn the statue. So if I spawned a statue, this is just a little fun history. So I would go spawn statue deer, and that's it. It's 1 meter up. It always faces north. And that's it. That's all Iron Gate gave us the ability to do. And then I said, Jere, I want to be able to turn this so that I can position it in the player's base. So he gave me the command to say object move. And I could assign it to move. So if I want to go 0 back and forth, 0 left or right, and -1 to go down. Boom, there it is. And then I could rotate it. He gave me the ability to rotate it. So in all 3 axes. So there you go. I could start to rotate it. And that's how I would place things for the players a long time ago. Do you remember that, Jere?
Yeah, that was so nice back then.
Yeah,
but now it doesn't feel so good anymore.
Yeah. It was great to have that option, but it was pretty tedious. But I told him one day, I said, you know, Jere, how we come over here and then I can place this wall and I can, move it up or down or do whatever. He even gave me commands so I could move it up and down like this without having to slide on another piece in creative mode. And I said, it would be great if the hammer could just place these things and adjust them. And so he made Infinity Hammer. And now I can select it with Infinity Hammer. I can twist it around and I can move it up and down. And Infinity Hammer, I think, is one of 2 holy grails for admin tools and modding. You absolutely need this for creative builds and doing cool admin stuff on your server. But now, the second holy grail, in my opinion, Jere, you have given it to me, and I have been addicted to it. I've spent I've been spending about 16 or more hours a day, every day for the last month just about, playing with these mods so that I could create custom worlds easily. Because in the past, we've had to place everything manually throughout the world. But now with his mods, as you can see all this stuff around here? I mean, right? Basically, you're just seeing the Yggdrasil roots here at spawn, but there are hundreds of things around the world that I would have had to have placed manually, but because of his mod called Expand World, now I can tell the mod that I want these things spawned and around the world based on settings that I put in, and it'll just procedurally generate it like Iron Gate does with the rest of the world. And now us players, now us content creators have the ability to do this as well. And it's pretty amazing. So before we get into the nuts and bolts, I'm just going to go down here and show you. So right now, this is a view. This is not my season 4 server. So if you're taking screenshots right now, the map, so that you can have an edge over the players who don't know, this is not it. However, these are the settings or similar settings that will be on the season 4 server. And these icons that you have here, you see here, these are icons in the mod I can turn on or off. It just helps me when I'm testing to tell me where my locations are being placed, and then I can go and spot check them. But I want to show you, everybody knows that the Ashlands is completely empty, except for like a couple of Surtlings and meteorites around. But if I go here now, watch this. We're going to give this a minute to load. Let's set my time of day to 0.4. So right now I spawned on one of these petrified bone skulls you can see. So I've custom tailored every single biome in the game. And actually, when you play on my server, you do not need mods. Now, Jere's Expand World mod, it has tons of functions, but there are a bunch of things that you can do without any mod. I mean, without your players needing any mods. And everything you see here today that I'm going to show you are things that nobody needs any mods to play. Of course, you need mods to set this up, but once you put it, you can send the map to somebody if you generate all the zones, or you can put it on your server, and the player doesn't need any mods for these functions. He has a lot more functions if you want the ability to do a lot of other things. So this is a little bit of a sneak preview of the Ashlands that you're going to see on my server. And with the addition of the Mistlands and all the cool ancient runes that we got, I decided to populate a little bit of them in the Ashlands and the Deep North. Now, there are mobs that will be spawning all around me that I placed, and I'll explain to you how I did that as well, because we can't use the world spawn system. You have to use the object spawn system. But you can do that because you can have those populate the area as well. Oh, looks like we got tar pits here. Yeah, tons of mobs will spawn, but I'm in ghost mode, so nothing spawns because you just see tons of monsters attacking and running around, causing chaos. But yeah, see, we got some bridges here. Now, interesting thing about these bridges, that bridge right there is actually a blueprint. That is not the location in the game. I had to blueprint that location and remove the location proxy that comes with it because the location proxy includes mist. And I did not want mist on my bridge in the Ashlands for obvious reasons. As a matter of fact, in my Season 4 server, I remove about 97% of the mist from the Mistlands. So if you want to play in the Mistlands and experience it with almost no mist, you want to check this out because I'll even give you a preview of that. But yeah, so that's a blueprint there. And now I'm going to go over to a couple of the custom locations that I got. I like to just run along the ground here because it's a better feel for what you are going to experience. As a matter of fact, I think the Ashland looks even a little bit better when it's a little bit darker. There we go, especially when you do encounter any of the light sources here. Now, there are patches of fire and stuff around. I'm not seeing. Oh, there you go. There's some of the asteroid boulders that are placed, the meteorites rather. And it looks like I should be coming up to a location here soon. You can see on my map. Of course, we have some food here if you need an emergency food source. We've got bones, and we got lots of Jotun puffs. Turns out they're fire resistant, so they're good for the Ashlands, right, Jere?
Yeah.
Just because they're orange, I thought it fit. And the mage caps are in the deep north. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
so
it looks nice.
yeah, I think so. And so everything you're seeing here, this is all generated procedurally with the mod. Just we spend a few hours testing the settings that you want to get things to spawn the size that you want and in the general distribution that you want. So there's one of the locations that I'm not going to go inside because I don't want to spoil too much, but that is one of the fire mage fortresses that you'll find here in the Ashlands. And yeah, I wanted things to be big and grand, right? Because this is supposed to be end game stuff, right? The Ashlands and the Deep North are supposed to be end game, so it should feel epic. Oh, and check this out. So you can you see how all this stuff, everything that you see here is called vegetation. So whether it's a rock or these bones or actual vegetation, it's all called vegetation because it just spawns in like vegetation all throughout. And you can set the settings for that. Well, because I can't control for a vanilla player, I can't control the zone spawners, but I want mobs to spawn here. I have two objects spawning in as vegetation. One is a spawner or respawner, so if you get close, the mob will spawn. But there's only 7 spawners in the game for mobs. 7. And I've actually talked to Jonathan Smars about this, and I had the feeling that he wasn't even aware of how few that there were, and he promised to look into it. If you're watching out there, Jonathan, I can't wait because having more spawners and respawning spawners will give us content creators so many more tools to do for the player. But the other object you use as to spawn in mobs is the actual mob itself. This mob is vegetation. I spawned this mob in, and I gave it 2 stars, and I'm just going to show you 4,500 health. So this is a boss Surtling. He's going to cause havoc and be hard to kill when you're down here, especially when you start seeing all the other things that will spawn in around here. But they spawn in with spawners. The Surtling spawns in directly as part of the vegetation because I cannot set a spawner to have more stars and more health. So I'm going to pause this for a second, and hopefully I'm still pointed at him. But if I use a command called object copy, see that right there? So I know the text is a little small for you, and it's not really important what that text is. It's just a bunch of code. But all that code is the, what is it called? ZDO data, Jere?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
And so it's identifying which mob I want. That code is telling how many stars that mob has and how much health that mob has. And when I use this command, it automatically copies it to the clipboard, so then I can take it later and paste it into the file. So let's see. I'll just show you quickly how that actually works. So this is the file right here. And these are all the different parameters that you can set for the vegetation. This is the expand world vegetation YAML file. I copied and commented out all the settings so that I could have them for quick reference. And if I go down to Surtling right here, so here you go. 3,500 health? Is that what I said that he was? I can't remember. Something like that. Let's see. How much health do you have? Oh, yes, 4,500. So I need to change my note. 4,500 health. But so, yeah, basically I have the prefab Surtling. So actually the Surtling is being treated as vegetation. This is how many will spawn in each zone. So when I set max of 1, no more than 1 has a chance to spawn in a zone. But because I set a minimum of 0.5, then it lowers it to a 50% chance to spawn in the zone. Biome is Ashlands. The altitude, if you only want certain things to spawn at certain altitudes. If you set minus 1,000, 1,000, it'll just spawn everywhere pretty much. Group size. This is how many Okay, so this is actually the size of how many groups are spawned, and then this is how many in each group. Okay, so I didn't want more than one of these to spawn. If you have a bunch spawning in, this is the radius in which they'll spawn, or you can set it higher and they'll spawn out further apart. And there's a ton of, as I showed you at the top of this, there's a ton of other parameters. And if you just read through those, Jere has a good example, description of each of those on the website, which I'll show you later. If you stick around, I'll show you exactly how to find all the information. Then you put in this parameter called data, and then that code that I copied when I typed in object copy, I put that in here. So now it knows you're no longer spawning in a regular Surtling. You're spawning in a Surtling with more health and more stars and whatever other data I gave it. I haven't tried, so I can also, certain mobs, I can equip them with armor and weapons in their hands. Jere, I assume that this data code here will also remember if I spawn them with armor and weapons. Is that true?
I'm not fully sure because the vanilla code might override it.
Oh, okay. So it's something that would need some testing, but it's definitely good if you want to have special mobs to be treated as like little mini bosses running around. You like give them more stars. I could even have given that Surtling 3, 4, or 5 stars, so it hits really hard. You really don't want to go above 5 stars though, because it also doubles the loot that it drops every time. And if you start getting above 5 stars, it'll drop so much loot that it could crash the zone that it's in, and maybe even your entire game or your server. But I like to keep it. I wish Iron Gate would add however many stars I assign to it. Its limit is 2. But if I add 3 stars, it doesn't show the 3rd star. So I don't want the players to run up to a mob thinking that it's weak because it doesn't have any stars. Maybe that's a function I can get if any of the Iron Gate team is watching this. Jonathan, I'm looking at you. To show all the stars that we assign to the mob. And, if there's too many, if we assign too many... there are mods out there that will assign more stars, but of course the player needs the mod. And my whole thing is I want to create vanilla worlds, amazing vanilla worlds that people can play without having to install mods. So, and that's what Jere's been really good at from the beginning. That was actually, remember that, Jere? That was the philosophy in the early mods, and then later you started to branch out a little bit to client also needing the mod.
Yeah, but they are only small mods and only small features.
Yeah, most of them are for vanilla clients, and then the rest are for they're admin tools, and if you want to build in creative with creative tools. Let's see here. I got a question here. Jiroc, will it cause any problems logging out of Season 4 and logging into a different server, or will you have to have different game instances like beta versus production? For me, as the content creator of the world, I do need to shut down the game, load another R2 modman, another mod manager profile with different mods to log into a server, because I can't log into the server with Expand World running. I'll get a message saying that I have Expand World and it's not compatible with the server. Or if I log into another single player game, yes, it will cause issues because it will try to spawn all that stuff in whatever other world that you have if you're in your single player world. So if you don't want this stuff that you're spawning in one world, all that vegetation, the rocks, everything, and the locations too, you don't want to use the same mod profile for different worlds. So shut down the game, load the mod profile that you want that doesn't have the obtrusive mods that won't change your world, and then do it that way. So there you go. That's that Surtling that I gave you extra health and stars. You can actually do it with any object in the game too. So if I look at this object, and you can see it's got scale there, see, its health says 1, and then, you know, if I break this, it turns into the broken object, and then you can break it up. Let's see, let me hit this. Break rock, there you go. So now it's actually a different object that doesn't have health because it has all the little individual pieces that have, you know, that are part of the broken object that have health. So if I wanted to assign something specifically with more health, I could do the same thing. I can do object copy, and that's a huge code for this current object because I broke it. Let's see, one I haven't adjusted yet. If I copy, am I not close enough? Oh, that one's not copying. Interesting. Well, the reason why I bring this up is because you know those stalagmites and stalactites that you find in the frost caves. Well, I did something special with those. I made them really big, and they look really cool. They look like these giant things that you see here in the Ashlands, but of course they're in the deep north in the mountains. But they only have 10 health. I didn't want this giant ice pillar thing that I have to be broken by a player with 2 punches because it only has 10 health. So I asked Jere, I said, Jere, they could punch my super ice structure. How do I fix it? He says, go object copy it and use the data code and, you know, add health to it, then object copy, use that data code because it'll remember that object has the health. And over here, as a matter of fact, I can show that to you right here. Let's see, it's called stalag. Here it is. So I have cave rock, ice, stalactite. You know, I have the different settings where I want them to spawn. Median is towards the center of a zone. Edge is the edge of a zone, and if you leave it blank, it'll spawn everywhere in the zone. But then here's the data code. I made it. Well, here inside this code, you can actually set the scale. So you can see there I set the scale. So they're huge, 15 to 28 times normal size. But this code is what gives it the extra health. So it started off with 10 health. This code, I forget, maybe something like 1,500 or more health. I forget exactly that this code tells that stalactite to have. And yeah, that now you can't just break it with 2 punches. You gotta you know, use a tool just like you would on one of the rocks, these giant rocks or something. Let's see, is there a location over here? Oh, yeah. So there's that location I told you about. That's the Fire Mage Fortress. That's one of the new locations that I put in the world. And you'll find that all over the Ashlands. And there's special loot in there, too, if you make your way down here and can survive your way to it and through it. Let me find... so each one of these different icons, it represents different types. So all the houses are that same fortress. But I'm going to come over here because I have 2 different ones over here that you haven't seen yet. Give it a second to load everything in. And if you want to know if things are loading, you could just hit F2 and watch your instances. I like to just hang out until that stops counting up because then you get the full experience to see what things look like. So let's see. I'm going to come over here. And oh, there you go, right there. That is my superstructure here. It's called the Fire Mage Tower, and it is the grand location with the best loot in it in the Ashlands. And so it's this giant rock tower made from lots of different rock pieces. And how is that added? So that is not vegetation. That is a blueprint, and that's when I asked Jere, I've been asking him for a long time. I said, Jere, I want to be able to put blueprints around the world just like Iron Gate does with their locations. And he made it happen. So locations are, the blueprints now are treated like locations. And Infinity Hammer, let me make this a little bit brighter. So Infinity Hammer can oh, I still got that deer here. He's got these pipette tools here. And they copy something to then blueprint. So the area pipette, it'll select everything in the area, and you can see I've got it there. And then if I type in hammer save and I name it, it'll save that as a blueprint. This right here, it will be a blueprint. The one feature that I don't have yet, Jere, with this is, do you remember? Is the centerpiece for the hammer.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yes, it's so like because it chooses a random center point somewhere on the build. So that giant tower there, sometimes when I blueprinted it, it would choose like a point at the very top as the centerpiece, and for the infinity hammer that is, and I'd have to raise it up out of the ground, and I only have my raise command set to 1 meter, so it's tap 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 to raise it all the way up to 1 meter. I don't have a hotkey for a bigger raise or lower. But when you save something as a blueprint, you can save any object as a blueprint. And right now I like to use the glowing mushroom because I generally don't use the glowing mushroom in a build. So when I make a build, I set the glowing mushroom at the base, at the ground, where I want the base of the blueprint to be, and then in the file, let me show you that real quick. So this is the expand YAML, expand locations YAML. This is the rock tower fortress that you're looking at right there in front of me. You can see there's 50 of them spread out throughout the Ashlands. These notes here that are commented out. When I'm doing testing, I adjust settings, and then I can see how many are spawning in the Bepanix log window. So if I want more or less to spawn, I really want my quantity of 50 to spawn. And so you can see here, when I do a min altitude of 40, I still get max spawned in. At different altitudes and other settings, I would get less than. It would say, 37 of 50 spawned in. So you got to tweak your settings because it does all kinds of different things, like checks the altitude. It'll check terrain delta, which is 0 to 4. So this should be, I don't know that it works exactly correctly, Jere. We have to have a talk about this, but it should, terrain minimum and maximum terrain delta means it chooses 10 points around the exterior radius, whatever you set that to. So I have it set to 30. So it chooses 10 random points throughout a radius of 30. And if any of them are, if the difference between those is greater than 4, then it won't spawn it there, supposedly. It seems to work to some degree, but I feel like it's not quite perfect yet. And if I don't want it to spawn at 0, I actually want there to be some degree of slope. I could change this to 1 or 2 or 10 and make this 40, right? Don't want to change my settings. So yeah, and let's see what. Oh, right here, this is assigning the icon. In game, you can type. What is it? EW icons. And if you type that, it tells you right there all the different icons that are in the game. And so you can use any one of those. We have the starting temple, which is the spawn area. The vendor Black Forest is Haldor. Icons 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the ones you see on the side of the map here. Let's see, what else do we got? Death, the death marker. When you die, your bed marker, the shout marker, which is the orange ping. Boss is the boss marker. The player, so the player icon on the map. If you play on a multiplayer server, you see the player's icon on the map. The random event icon that pops up, the event area, and the ping if you ping the map, right? So I could actually use this ping as one of these markers, and I can show that to you right now. And it updates live. So while you're testing your settings here, you can do this live. So I'm going to just change that to ping. I'm going to save it. I'm going to come back to the game, and there you go. All the icons changed to the blue ping. This is just, to help you when you're testing so you can see the different things in the world. Right now, I only have 3 location icons on, so I could test these here. Let me know if I'm missing anything, Jere, or if there's any functionality that I'm not mentioning to any of this stuff as we go.
Well, so far so good.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah. Then the other thing I wanted to show you is right here. So this is a recent addition. I told you, when locations spawn in, their center point is, it's all over the place when it spawns in the world too. So he added this parameter here called centerpiece, and you can assign any object you want to use as your centerpiece. You can assign it here. I just like to use the glowing mushroom because I don't generally use that in the build. Somebody's asking, how come I have ashlands? Well, my friend Dino World, this is a video about how to make custom worlds, and this is what I'm showing you, is the custom ashlands that I made for my new Season 4 server that everybody can play in vanilla mode without mods, launching this Friday. I have a PC and an Xbox server. If you're interested, just go to jiroctheviking.com and submit an application if you guys are interested in joining us. It will launch Friday morning. I think it's around 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So yeah, do the math there on your time conversion. But yeah, so this centerpiece, glowing mushroom, and so as an example, let's say that this giant rock I wanted to be blueprinted. I could blueprint this giant rock, and if I added different things, as a matter of fact, let me show you something. This isn't too much of a teaser. Oh, right there. So this is another custom location that I built. You can see right there. I call it the Ashlands fire pillar. So it's got all kinds of different rocks and stuff, reshaped and everything. There's bonfires and things on there. And if you figure out how to get up to the top, I mean, it's not warded, so you could build up to it, or maybe you could try to parkour up to it. And there is something special up at the top, so I won't... Oh, yes, Michael McGuire. I have tweaked every biome in the game, so you get to experience every biome a little bit differently, a little bit more, shall we say, more magical, more mysterious, more interesting. I mean, Iron Gate created an amazing world with amazing biomes, but with mods we have tools to, add our own flair to it. But so I'm going to come here, I'm going to say hammer, glowing mushroom. I can hit tab to autocomplete, which is a really nice feature that Jere makes sure is always included, the autocomplete feature. And then so there's my glowing mushroom. If I need to adjust it, I have hotkeys to adjust it, or reset it, or rotate it. But wherever I place this, the bottom of this glowing mushroom is going to be the center point for the blueprint. And then when I spawn them in the world, that blueprint will spawn right here as the center point at the bottom of the mushroom. So in no clip mode, I would fly into this rock. I would try to find the center of this pillar here that I created. Like, I got distracted, but at the top of these pillars is special loot. So find them and get up there if you can. But yeah, so you come in here. Normally I go up to the very top and then I try to find the center and then fly down in no clip mode. But I'm just going to say that because I don't want to show you the top and spoil it. So roughly there would be the center point. So now if I blueprint this with the pipette tool, and again, I would blueprint this from the top. Normally I would do it without all this extra stuff around. I'd have a completely cleared out area. So I would come over to another, and you can see there are tar pits here in my ashlands too. So over here with this is a part of Infinity Hammer. The hoe has all these extra tools. I have a whole video on this. You should go check out. It's, I think Jere, you were on when we were covering the tools for Infinity Hammer and the hoe before, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there. There are some new feature requests coming from that video also, so it's good to be here to see how things are done and what can be improved.
Yeah. When you see us actually using it out in the battlefield, right?
Yeah.
So I can use these tools. This is the clear tool for the hoe right here, remove. So this will just remove everything. This is, if you need a clear spot to build in, and this will level it. So now I have a perfectly flat, empty area. And if I want to build here and place something, then like that tower there that I showed you, that pillar, I would have built that here placed my mushroom here underneath it and then blueprinted it here. So I would have flown up to the top. I would have come over to the area pipette tool. I would have made sure that this was around all of it. And as a matter of fact, let me just put something here to show you. So if this were the build that I wanted to use, so you're super nice that you can just quickly select stuff and place them. Then I come up here, area pipette, boom. Oh, let's see. There we go. So you can see the infinity hammer did not grab the center of that, the center bottom of that glowing mushroom. But Jere is going to try to make that happen, I hope. So that the center point is exactly there. But right now it chooses a random spot for the infinity hammer. And then I can save this. And so let's save it. So I'll say hammer, save, and we'll call this rock test. And you can see it saved it to my Bepinex config plan build folder. Plan build is another great mod that does blueprinting and some other things. So here you go. I have this. So now I'm going to deselect it. And if I type in hammer blueprint and I say rock test, now it just pulled up that blueprint. And again, it didn't choose the center point yet. Infinity hammer doesn't have that function yet. But when it gets spawned in the world procedurally with expand world, it does use that bottom center point of the glowing mushroom. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, and the mushroom is not spawned in.
Oh yeah, that's another point, right, Jere? So whatever you use as your center point, when it spawns out in the world, you don't have to worry about that being stuck in the build, because Jere, thinking ahead, he removes it. So when it gets auto-generated in the world, whatever is that centerpiece, it gets deleted. So if you are expecting to use a piece of your build as the centerpiece, don't, because it will be deleted. Put something in there that's not part of your build that you want, that will get deleted. And this way you don't have a random glowing mushroom stuck in your build somewhere. Because imagine a player destroys the building, right? There'll be an indestructible glowing mushroom there, because while these rocks can be destroyed, glowing mushrooms have no health, so they can't be destroyed by a player. So it'll just be this object that's stuck here forever. So yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, so that's my custom Ashlands, and just a sneak peek. I'm going to undo this, which is a nice feature. See all that stuff that I deleted. What is it? It's set to like 50 max undos, right, Jere?
Yeah.
Which is so handy. I have to undo stuff a lot, and it would have created so much extra work. Yeah, so that is the Ashlands. Let me know if you guys have any questions in chat for me or Jere, and we will try to answer them. See, I showed you, yeah, all three locations. I don't want to get too close to my tower over there, because I don't want to spoil it too much, because that location took a long time to build and set up, and it's basically the really big, nice location. Oh, check this out. Yep, we got ruins, we got bridges, we've got old Jotun giant remains all over the place here too. But yeah, there's that tower, and there's a way to get up it, and you can see it's burning, and there's some kind of building, a fortress at the top. But yeah, we're not going to get too close to that. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. Okay, so people were asking, did I do anything custom in the in every biome? And yes, I'll give you a quick preview of that. So the Ashlands environment. So this is spawn. This is not spawn for the Season 4 world. The Season 4 world has a special spawn area where you can follow a path to a portal hub, and that portal hub will take you to 5 or 6 different meadows around the world. This way, the players can spread out a little bit and have easier access to resources and dungeons in various parts of the world, so they're not all crammed on the starting island and all trying to compete for the same resources. But you can see, yeah, it's a little misty here right now. But yeah, you can see right here, this is a little bit different for the meadows, right? You don't normally see this in the meadows. Let's see, we'll run through here real quick, see if you see anything else new. I don't want to spoil it too much, but there are lots of new things. Oh, like, there you go. There is some old Jotun armor, some swords in the meadows. Now, this stuff is super hard. So, and of course, you need a black metal pickaxe to break it. Not even the troll can break it. And I had to test that to make sure the troll couldn't break this stuff, because I don't want you guys getting a bunch of copper and iron from these things just from the troll early game, right? You got to earn your black metal pickaxe. But yeah, there are a ton of new things around, and I'm afraid to get too far because I don't want to show you too much. Let's see. Maybe I can find an oak tree. I would like to show you maybe an oak tree. There's a clearing coming up here. There might be an oak tree in that clearing. There's another sword there. More roots here, which look really amazing at night, by the way. Right? Like, you know, you're running around in the meadows at night. You got that. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Check that out. What do you think, Jere?
Looks big.
Yes. So the theme of this world is it's an old world, thousands of years before the current Valheim age, and the oak trees are bigger. There's more, you know, Yggdrasil roots are more scattered around the world. There's more Jotun remains and armor around the world, and lots of other interesting locations. Kind of glad I didn't run in. So in the meadows, in the deep north in my custom world, which launches on Friday, season 4, the deep north has the frost mages and all their frost fortresses. The Ashlands has the fire mages and all their fire fortresses. But in the meadows and most of the other biomes, they're populated by the rogues, by the Dwarga rogues, and they have their own special structures, which I'm not gonna show you those. I'm glad I didn't run into any of them because they're cool and I want to surprise you with some stuff. But yeah, look at this ancient Valheim world, the giant oak tree. You have to be careful when you cut this thing down too, because you know how you take damage from trees and the falling logs? Well, this log, I'm not going to cut it down. I'll let you find out for yourself. But this is huge when it falls, so be very careful. It'll squish your head. So I'll just give you a quick preview too of the deep north. We're just going to stare at the ground here while everything loads, because we don't want to spoil too much. Oh, yeah, look at this. Your deep north doesn't look like this, I bet. Your deep north is empty. I've got fireflies and mage caps. Yggdrasil roots growing all over the world. We've got, because it's an ancient world, it's called Valheim Ancients. We've got giant thistle. And here's what I was talking about. This is 3,000 health, this giant ice pillar. Now this is the stalactite that you can see in the frost cave. I think it has 10 health normally, but using that copy object data code that I mentioned earlier, it has added the extra health to it in the code. So when it spawns in as vegetation, which I showed here, stalag. Oh, that's the locations file. I need to come over to the vegetation right here. So that code, and again, you do it the same way. So let me show you how I did it. So if you type hammer stalag cave rock stalactite, so here it is. Let me brighten this up a little bit. 0.4, 0.5. There we go. So this is that giant stalactite. And because this piece isn't locked to its size, there are some pieces in the game that you cannot scale for vanilla and some you can. Jere, what's the parameter that the scalable objects have that the non-scalable objects don't have? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's like, is it scalable?
Oh, so it just has a parameter that says is it scalable?
Yeah.
I wish everything was scalable in vanilla, because then that would open up so much. Because there are some things that are just like arbitrarily scalable, and then similar things that you think would be scalable are not scalable. So if you want a tiny one, you could do that, and you could build something with that. You could build a bunch of things with this. As a matter of fact, let me show you something that I built with the stalactites as a blueprint. I'm going to say hammer blueprint, and I'm going to type in fence. Is it fence? Stalag ice. Oh, what was it called? Give me just 1 second here to look at my file to see what it was called. Because you can take anything, you can make something out of it to use as a resource later in a blueprint, and that is super handy. Miscellaneous? Oh, ice wall spikes. That's what I called it. Ice wall ice. There it is. Maybe I should have put fence. You'll see why I should have put fence. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to change the name. It updates dynamically too. That's a feature Jere made sure was in there. Fence. So I changed. You guys can't see. I did that in Windows Explorer. I changed the name to fence like I was trying to type before. So let's see if it will find it now. Oh, it hasn't updated. Oh, wait, I spelled it wrong. Oh, there you go. So here you go. I typed in fence. I added fence to the description. That's what you really want to do when you name your blueprints, is don't just name them, what's the obvious name for it. Put in a bunch of keywords too, because later you might not remember the name of the thing. So go ahead and put a bunch of keywords in there. That way when you type, it'll autofill there. At the bottom, you hit tab. There you go. So if I hit enter and you can't see it, because is it too low? Yep. See that, Jere? I'm glad Jere's here so he can see some of this. Time of day 0.5. Oh, my time is not changing for some reason. Oh, there we go. Now it's changing. You still with us, Jere?
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, so when I call up a blueprint, this is what happens a lot of times, Jere. I can't even see it. So I have to use this command, and you can see there the command to raise it. But so out of the stalactites, I created a fence, and then I can paste this fence over and over again, and then I can blueprint this new fence and whatever's inside of it to be a new blueprinted object that can spawn in the world all over the place. So this is how you start to create. So you have two things. You can do tweaks to vegetation in a biome, and you can create blueprints. Like I could just have this wall that I created spawn in the world just like this, but not really a feature. Maybe the thing to remember though, vegetation is nice because you can just have lots of vegetation spawn throughout a zone in a biome, but locations can only spawn one per zone, and every zone is 64 meters by 64 meters. Let's see, I got a couple of questions here. Hello, greetings from Iceland. Hello, Yogi. Gonna ask you if you can get this map as a single player world. Yes, I'll be making this map available for download once I generate the full world to my patron subscribers. So, yep, you can go and check out my Patreon page for that if you're interested in that. because basically it's just a configuration, right, of everything. So there's that for download for my patrons to thank them for supporting. Let's see, what is the other question? Stalactites are the top drip, I think. Stalagmites, pretty, but and there are stalactites and stalagmites in the game. The see, which one is this? This is a stalactite. The stalagmites are a little bit thinner and look a little bit different than this. Another question: when Xbox joins a PC modded server, can they interact with modded items? Well, so the way this world is being built, so to answer your question directly, if the mod requires the player to have it, you have to have it, or you can't interact with it. You won't have that feature in the game. The way I'm building this world, I'm building it with mods, but I'm building it all with vanilla pieces. So anybody, PC or Xbox, and anybody without mods can see the world exactly the way you see it here right now on my stream today. It'll be exactly the same because no mods are required for you to play on it, because it's all vanilla stuff. It's just I use mods to move the vanilla pieces around in different configurations. So it's my configuration of the vanilla pieces, or, quote unquote, my blueprint of all this stuff. Anybody can play Xbox or PC without mods. The one question we still have, though, is does the terrain height change differently from PC to Xbox? We'll have to see how that affects. Now, the vegetation should be fine for you Xbox players, because I built this on a PC, but the locations, the terrain might raise or lower a little bit. So we can just undo that real quickly. Reset this. So again, all this is, there you go. There is a preview of the Frost Mage Fortress. That is the grand location here with special loot up at the top. Angel Agnar asks, is it possible to create a flat world, Jere? You want to answer that one?
Yeah, if you have the mod, you can create a flat world without anything spawning in it. Now, you just run the test.
And do you have instructions for how to create a flat world listed on the page?
Maybe not.
So it might be, what might be fun. I don't know if, I guess it's possible if you included an extra zip file configuration that they can replace the configuration file for, that just has the flat world, so they can just plug and play, unzip the file, and then replace the config file. That might be nice for them, so they minimize the settings and having to try to figure it out. Or if you have the explanation for how to do it. I mean, obviously you want to understand the settings that are doing the flat world if you really want to get into manipulating worlds. But if you just want a completely flat world, which I use a completely flat world too for building locations with a different profile. You can do that. You can have a completely flat world. I actually have lots of videos with me inside my completely flat world. If you look at my channel, search for any of my Game Master videos, you'll see some of those. But yeah, I was thinking that, Jere, because you sent me the config for the flat world as a surprise when you said, hey, try this config. And I said, what is it? And you asked me, you don't like surprises?
Yeah, it takes 5 minutes to create, so it's not a very big thing to do.
Yeah, but still they have to understand how to do it, so...
Yeah.
You know what might be fun for this mod, maybe I can help you with that, Jere, and I could just send them to you, is certain world configurations as presets, and then we could zip them up and just include them in the download with the mod that they can unzip and replace with their config files if they want.
Yeah, that would be great. Just that no one has sent me anything, because usually people want to keep their configurations as a secrets. No one can steal them.
Yeah. Eventually, my Valheim Ancients world. I'm not sure when I'll have it ready for this, but I want to release it as a just a mod that's free for anybody, with different vegetation setups. Maybe a couple of different ones people could try. The only thing it'll be missing is the blueprints. Because you need the blueprints, and the blueprints I make available just for my patrons, because blueprints take a lot of time to build. I mean, figuring out all the vegetation configurations take a lot of time too, but in the future sometime. I'm focused on getting my Season 4 server running for both PC and Xbox. And so I'm just going to... So that's the Frost Mage Fortress. And you can see there's all this nice terrain here. And that is an excavation site. I don't want to get too close, but if you're familiar with the excavation site in the Mistlands, that is an excavation site there too. And you can see I've used that fence that I showed you earlier that goes around that. But yeah, there's some fun stuff in there to deal with. And again, if I come out of ghost mode, there'll be tons of mobs around here chasing me around. So I don't want to do that. Okay, so that's a little bit of a sneak preview. I don't want to show you too much. All the other biomes have little tweaks and locations and specialty mini boss mobs, like the one I showed you, the Surtling I showed you in the Ashlands. Most of the other biomes have one or more little mini boss mobs like that too. Oh, check out my frostberry bushes. You guys have frostberry bushes in your world? Yeah, they're really just blueberries, but they look blue, so it fits the deep north. You just have to use your imagination that they say that they're frostberries. Oh, and one of the things I love are the fireflies that are... we don't see fireflies here anymore, but there are fireflies around in certain places. Cool. All right, so let's jump out of the game real quick and just show you a couple of things. Some of the technical stuff here. Okay, so first off, R2 Modman. You want R2 Modman here. It's super easy. You can start your game in a modded mode or vanilla. If you start in vanilla, then none of your vanilla files are messed with, and you're just back into vanilla, no problem. All the modded files get installed somewhere else. So if you just go to Thunderstore and download R2 Modman, you can get this, and you can install mods here if you need to, and you can install Jere's mods. So let's talk about Jere's mods. First off, Azumat, an amazing modder, super nice person, super talented modder also. He has tons of mods. One of the ones I always use is the configuration manager. That's so that when I'm in game here, if I hit F1, I think it is by default. Oh, I'm lagging. There we go. You get access to your mod configuration files right here in the game. Otherwise, you have to go into the folder, open up each text file individually. But you can do that right here. You can come into Infinity Hammer and choose all the settings that you want, or any of your other mods. So I highly recommend Official Bepanex Configuration Manager by Azumat. Spawner tweaks is a combined effort, right, Jere, between you and Azumat?
Yeah.
And it has tons of tweaks that you can do with spawners, but the problem with that mod is that it requires the player to have it if you want to tweak spawners. So I don't use this for my vanilla server that I'm launching on Friday. I found other ways to get the creatures there that I want. I include spawners and creatures in the location blueprint. So when you blueprint something, you can actually put a spawner in it. You can put a direct creature, not even the spawner, in it with however much health and stars that you want. Blueprint that, and then when the location gets placed by Expand World, the mob will be in there with exactly the settings that you gave it. And not only that, all the containers, so if you want to put special loot in there, if you want to put higher level items than the players have access to, and there might be some of those in my Season 4 world, You can place those into containers, put them in the blueprint, and then Expand World will automatically distribute those around the world with the mobs, with the containers, with the loot, everything. It's so awesome. Gizmo by Comfy Mods. It just allows you to rotate on the other axes if you're not familiar. So, you can rotate like this, but with Comfy, you can also rotate on the other axes, which Iron Gate has not given us the ability to do because they want to keep it, more immersive with their build style. Will Wright, yeah, my Season 4 server launches this Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for PC and Xbox. Fingers crossed I can get it, everything working, but yeah, it should launch for both this Friday. Bepanex, Valheim, this will download automatically if you install any mod, because it's the mod that's required to install all other mods. But now Jere's mods. So server dev commands. Server dev commands is pretty much one of the first real tools that he created for us admins and creative builders. And it used to actually combine, have all the world edit commands and other things in it, but he split them because they were so different. But server dev commands allows you to use the dev commands, admin commands, in a multiplayer world, mainly. I mean, it does tons of other things too. So regardless, if you're going to do any kind of admin work or any kind of creative building, you want server dev commands installed. And especially if you want to do anything on a server. Because in multiplayer, Iron Gate doesn't give us the ability to use any admin commands, except for less like kick and ban players. But you can't go into God mode, you can't spawn things, and you can't do any of that. But server dev commands gives you that ability. World edit, that's when I was changing, when I'm spawn things in, when I give them health, when I change their size, all these different things. World edit has all these commands and tons more. I would just go read up on all the commands. They have little descriptions there to get yourself familiar with all the cool different things you can do with World Edit. Infinity Hammer is like I was showing you. It's the build hammer that can do a lot of what World Edit can do, but you can do it directly in the hammer. You can place an object with more stars, with more health. You can rescale it. You can turn it. You can twist it. You can raise it. All that stuff. You can immediately copy another object that you point at. And Upgrade World. Oh, we should talk about Upgrade World, Jere. Upgrade World does a lot of things too. Let's see. What would you say, Jere, is the basic description of Upgrade World?
Well, the primary idea was that you can add, when Valheim updates, you can add those new things to your old worlds. Like tar pits, I think that was the first situation. But it has so many other things now too, and it's mostly used with, like, when you do changes with the expand world, you can reset the area around you and see how it will now generate.
Right.
So it's like two different use cases.
Yeah. So also when I'm in game, Upgrade World is the one that resets zones, right?
Yeah. So it's easier to do changes because you can very quickly see how the generation works now, instead of having to create a new world.
Right. So I want to show you guys here, the reason why I blacked out my screen, because I don't want to show you the world that I'm about to create and all of my seeds. I don't want everybody to know the seeds. But what I'm going to do is in another folder, I am locations. Oh, did I remove that? I'm just checking my other folder here real quick because I want to. I think I might have deleted that. Locations. Oh well, let me create. So I'm just going to shut down my game in the background. You guys can't see that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going we're going to go through some more stuff over there, but while a new world is creating, once the new world creates, I'm going to come in and show you an completely empty Ashlands, and I'm going to start adding things to it one by one to show you how that process is, how that process goes if you want to create your own custom Ashlands or Deep North, and or, you know, modify the other existing biomes. So let's see, I got to go here. Just 1 second. Delete that. Got to make sure, I got to be careful I don't accidentally delete my hours of progress with my worlds. That would be very bad. I'm going to make a couple of copies in my other window real quick. And then I'm going to, I think I got this set up. Yep. So it'll generate new files that should be blank because I deleted them. Okay. So while that's going on, let's go back to this. So yeah, Upgrade World does a bunch of things, and one of the things, like I said, it does. He mentioned that it does. Jere mentioned is I use it a lot to reset a zone so that it has the new biome configuration, the vegetation, that I put there, so I can see how the distribution of the vegetation throughout the biome. You know, you tweak the settings over here. Yes, you tweak the settings over here, and when you do that, it will. Then you go back in the game, you reset the zone, and you can choose exactly the biome that you want so you don't waste time resetting the biomes that you're not working in. And then you'll see the new distribution of the stuff that you put in the biome. And if you want to tweak that distribution, make things bigger, smaller, more spread out, whatever you want to do to it, you can make the configuration, just do the zone reset command, and then watch the zone reset and see if you get the configuration that you want. ESP has just a ton of extra information on screen that you need. 3 of the things that I use it mostly for are to show me where spawners and respawners are in the world. There'll be a line up and down, a colored line for every spawner and respawner in the world. So this lets me know when I'm placing spawners, you know, that they're actually getting placed when I add them as vegetation or if I add them to my locations. Because I want to know exactly where they're at and how much they're getting distributed throughout a biome, so I know how many mobs roughly are going to spawn. Although I do recommend that you turn off ghost mode and run through yourself, because the first time I did it, I thought, oh yeah, I've got enough spawners in here. This should give the players enough challenge. I turned off ghost mode, started running around, and got overwhelmed. There were way too many spawners, so I had to go back through and thin that out. Structure Tweaks is another great mod that allows you to do all kinds of amazing things with the build pieces in the game. You can make them invisible. You can scale pieces that aren't scalable. You can do all kinds of things. But the problem with that is the player has to have it installed. So I don't use it much for my seasonal world because I want everybody to be able to play with no mods. So I only use the vanilla functions of the game, things that can scale, things that can resize, the things I can add health to or change their, different things about them. You can also, you can make, like I said, high level weapons too. You can add extra durability. You can add, change the level of the item to make them really high level or even just slightly higher than what the players can get in the game. And then here it is, Expand World. That's the one that basically gives you these configuration files to set the distribution of your blueprints and all the locations in the game, actually, even not your blueprints. So you can look in here and see, like, here's Abandoned Log Cabin 1 that spawns in the mountains, and you guys have probably all seen this. If you want to change the distribution of of standard Iron Gate standard Valheim locations, you can do that. You can remove them, because actually you can remove things too. So like in Expand World, there's an object called, check this out, Mist Area. Now this is a trade secret here, but I'm going to share it with you guys who are watching this stream, because I've been asked so many times, Jiroc, how do I remove the mist from my world? How do I remove it? Well, install Expand World. enable the expand vegetation, which all of them are on by default. But I suggest turning them off and only leaving the location and the vegetation on if you want vanilla functionality, because all the other ones require the players to have the mod. So right here, there's an object called Mist Area in the game. So when you're in the Mistlands and you see that giant mist, that's actually a giant ball of mist, and it's one object. And you can see here, I have minimum and 0 maximum groups spawning. So in my world, no mist areas spawn. And mist area is the majority of the mist. It's like something like 80 to 90% of the mist that you see in the Mistlands. They have 2 other smaller mist objects called Mist Area Small and Mist Area Edge. And I also set those to 0. So there's only a few of those though, but I don't want them spawning either. And then now most of the mist is gone. The only mist that remains are the mists that spawn in with a specific location and inside dungeons and, like the Queen Lair. Those will still have mist. You can remove those mists as well, but you have to delete the location proxy for the location that's causing the mist, or the mist area in the I think in the dungeons it's called Mist Area Small, so you can delete those as well in the game. But that's how you do it. If you want a mist free world, you can do it with Expand World here. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, so Expand World, it lets you distribute your blueprints and your vegetation. And then I just like to install this one mod by Maxi Mods called Tune Your Zoom. In the game, it allows me to zoom in and out more than the standard zoom, because when I'm doing creative stuff, I need to be able to zoom out a little bit more sometimes. So I'm going to turn off my Senator monitor. I'm going to come in and I'm just going to generate a new world. And then while that's generating, we'll talk about a couple of other things here. Start. Okay. All right. Center monitor back on. Here we go. Okay. So real quickly, if you do, though, plan to get your own server and you want to play with friends, save 10% at Gportal with my link, jiroctheviking.com/Gportal. Hey, I got to plug it. I get a little commission, not much, but something. But really, you guys save 10%, right? So there you go. If you need a Gportal server, there's the link. Save 10%. And also, right here, buymeacoffee.com/Jere Kuusela and buymeacoffee.com/Azumat. Come over if you guys use their mods and give them a little donation. It really helps them out and encourage them, to keep making their mods, but also give them a little extra spending money. Oh yeah, this is the GitHub page for. So over here, I was talking about Thunderstore. This is where you find Expand World. You can see people are loving this mod. 48,000 downloads almost. And yeah, people are using it. And I'm sure some of them are giving you feedback too when they find things. I've been giving Jere, he's been getting a lot of pings from me over the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's nice, like how different things people do with it. Like, like these features Jiroc is using, they have been there for a while, but I don't think anyone has used those, or because they were not working very greatly.
Yeah. Some of the features have been there a while, but they haven't been working. So that people haven't been using them because they're not reaching out saying, "Hey, Jere, this doesn't work properly."
Yeah.
But yeah, once I jump in, I'm like, okay, I want to do this thing, and then I try to do the thing, and if there's there's always little bugs here and there, but yeah, he's been working them out. But then when you scroll down here. So in R2 Madman, when you're in your profile here, you create a profile. You come online here. You search for it here. So you come here, you search for it there. You download it, and it'll put it in your install folder, and then you can just start modded, and it'll, you play your game with it. But if you wanted to look up the documentation for the mod, in R2 Modman also, let's see, where is Expand World? There's Expand World. Right here, you click this version here, and it'll open up the page for Expand World. And then if you scroll down to this documentation section here and you click that, it'll bring you over to Jere's GitHub account. And I've highlighted with a special Chrome plugin the main features of the game. But you'll see here, and there's tons of commands, and it talks about all the different things that you can do. I recommend, if you're going to learn, starting with locations and vegetation, play with that, and then, that's a good place to start. And then if you want to get into this other stuff that requires mods for all the players, you can look into all those things as well. But what he has here listed as his features, add new biomes. So you can actually change the distribution of the current biomes in the game, have them in different places. And Jere, do you want to explain what you mean when you say a new biome? So a biome that's not currently in the game.
Yeah, that's it.
And so what do these new biomes look like?
Well, whatever you make them to look like.
So Jiroc's Ashlands is not Valheim's Ashlands. So, but all I did was change vegetation and location distribution. But with this mod, I could, if I wanted to, I could change the weather. I could change the shape of the island's distribution and how much of it is in the world, right?
Yeah, and you can create new ones, like some mods. I think one mod added dark biomes, like there's dark meadows, dark black forest, dark plains, and those have stronger enemies and things like that.
Yeah. So but again, you would need.
Everyone would need the mod.
All the players would need the mod for those advanced features.
Yeah.
R2 Modman is not showing in Thunderstore list for Valheim. Let's see. If I click the Thunderstore homepage, R2 Modman is the #1 mod that appears in Thunderstore. So you want to go to valheim.thunderstore.io, not thunderstore.io. Oh, maybe thunderstore.io has it too. But yeah, if you just go to valheim.thunderstore.io, R2 Modman is the very first thing that shows up here. This is an executable file. Then all the other mods you'll never install manually. Once you have R2 Modman, you come to R2 Modman, you search here on the online feature. Once you find the mod you want, you just download it. It installs it automatically. And when you start modded, then your game starts with the mod. Let's see, where was I at? Oh, yeah. So donate to modders if you like what they're doing. And if anybody's going to be playing on my Season 4 servers, if you really like this, they made these, these tools possible. So you can help them out if you want to send them a donation. Let's see. And if you want to play on my servers and my Season 4 server, you go to JirocTheViking.com or just go to discord.gg/JirocTheViking and you can talk to me or Jere or Jules, who works on Plan Build and Jotun mods. I have modders there. I have other server owners there. I actually have all the devs are on my, or most of the devs are on my Discord as well. But you can ask questions, and even my players and my admins know how to use a lot of these mods, and we can help answer your questions over there on Discord. But yeah, if you want to join my servers, there you go. Let's see. So we covered the mods. Oh yeah, the world loaded. Okay, so here's a standard world. This world here has no changes in it at all. And let me bring up the files for this. So no close, no. I deleted these files. That's why it's upset asking me So here are the default expand world vegetation and expand locations files. So if I come down to the bottom, you can see it also, Jere has included all of the locations that are in the game, but they're set to false. So they're not enabled in the default game. Be careful before you try to enable these. Try to spawn these in. In game, you can actually use Infinity Hammer to spawn in a location. So you can say location, and if you're spawning in your blueprint, you do /blueprint. But for the game's locations, you do location. And then if we look at these disabled locations, so Runestone Wraith, it's not in the game anywhere, but it exists in the code. So if I wanted to bring this in as a location, I could put that there, a hammer location, Runestone Wraith, to test it before I spawn it into the world using Expand World. And there you go. This is a runestone that you might not have ever seen. I should probably add this to my game. I wonder why they left this out. But when you read this, look at all this text here. I'll let you stop the video if you want to read all that text. But yeah, this is a runestone that's not in the game. I think the wiki actually has the information for this one in there. We'll undo that. Always have an undo hotkey and a redo hotkey. Let's see, I got a couple more questions here. Will there be another intro for players? Lots of Portal questions. Will there be another intro for players? Lots of season 3. Yeah, Michael McGuire. Yep. At the start, this isn't the season 4 world, obviously, but there's a path you can follow with torches that's lit up, and it goes to a portal hub that will take you to different biomes. Now I'm going to hit a hotkey that I have with a bunch of binds on it that sets weather and resolution and reveals the map also. See that? There you go. Now all the fog is gone. Again, this is not my season 4 world, so don't pay any attention to it. But yeah, so the players don't have to start all in one area. There's other meadows all around the world on different islands. There's a portal hub in my season 4 server, and you can go in and out in between the to the different meadows. So you guys can spread out a bit. But what I wanted to show you is how to take an empty world or an empty biome and start to add stuff to it. So here we go. We are in the Ashlands, and I've turned off the ash weather because, again, it's nice to not have it. And as long as I'm in ghost mode, I won't have to deal with Surtlings. They won't spawn if I'm in ghost mode. So I stay in ghost mode, so I don't have to deal with them or their drops. Of course, you can turn drops off with server dev commands if you want as well, so that creatures don't drop things. But when you're building, I love to just come to an empty world. Again, you can make a flat world if you want with Expand World, but I love to just come here using Infinity Hammer. I don't need to clear anything unless there's some, yeah, see, there's no rocks or anything. Oh, there's like a meteorite over there, but it's not going to be in my way. But if I were building over here by this meteorite, you can see there's a location there. So there's actually 2 objects here. One is the location proxy, which changes the ground like that. And one is the meteorite itself. So I'll show it to you. There's the meteorite and the location, because I can't select the location with Infinity Hammer to delete it, but I can use this radius tool to hit the exact point where it's at and get rid of it. Oh, Jere, that was another thing I wanted to point out. I just did undo, and it did not bring back the location proxy. So in case people wanted to have that function, that doesn't work right now. I meant to mention that to you before, but I had forgotten. So bugs on stream. Oh no, Jere. Yeah. So as a matter of fact, though, you can also do a command called object remove, and this is part of world edit, I believe. I can say ID equals whatever object I want, or I can just use the asterisk and remove all objects, and that'll just do what I'm pointing at. But if I say radius equals, say like 10, it'll do everything within a 10-meter radius, which should get the location proxy and the meteorite. And there they go. They're both gone. And when I undo it, Jere did not give me back my location proxy.
Yeah, you had to pay for it.
I thought that it used to, but now I can't remember. But anyways, irrelevant. Still tons of other tools here. So if you wanted a flat area, you can just as big as you want, and you can hit shift or hit left mouse button. You could do that. Or if you want it to look nice and smooth, you can hold the Alt key, and there's a default 5% or was it a 50% slope grade that gets added to it. So you can see it looks nice now, and it transitions more naturally if you want that, which is good if you're out in the world building, an area and you're flattening certain thing or changing. If you hold Alt, you won't have that ugly hard line. And then you just start building. Let me show you what I have done. You can do this too, but if you want my blueprints, they're available for my patrons. But if you're not a patron and you want them, you can just make them yourself. Super easy. So let me show you what I've made. I have made a bunch of things called palettes, so that like there is a tool. Let's see, do I have it installed? Oh, I don't right now. There are other mods where it shows you all the different spawnable things in game. But I like to have build palettes so I can place the palette right there in front of me and have it available visually to look at, to pull and mold, to change and tweak. And one of the palettes I plan to build in the future is one where I take one rock and I shape it a bunch of different ways, and then that whole palette is just that one rock. Because you can do so many different things with rocks of different shapes, and so you may want it a certain shape and not have to go through the hassle of making it that shape. Because right now, Infinity Hammer can't bend and pull in one direction. Jere and I have been talking about that. So I use the console commands to do it. It's the easiest way right now, but it's still a lot of work. But let me show you what I mean by palettes. So there's a bunch of things in the game that you can spawn in that you don't have access to. And how do you know what you want in your world, right? What do you want as vegetation in your world? Well, you could go to the Wikipedia, you could go to, some of the data dumps where they have them all listed, but it's hard. You got to go through lists. It's nice to just have it right here in game with you somewhere. So I always create, when I'm building something or I'm working on a biome, I drop my palettes right here so that I have access to them. And I'm going to show you some of the palettes that I have. But again, all these palettes are available for my patrons. And actually, as a matter of fact, I need to upload the latest versions of them today. But so I'm going to come here, hammer blueprint, because that's how you call a blueprint. And so my palettes, I'm just going to type the word palette. And you can see I've got all those palettes, and it says +7 more. So I'm just going to go through and paste all my palettes here. So I'm just going to tab to the first one. I'm going to come over here, and my first palette is, boom. There you go. All the armor in the game. So if you're going to decorate something, you can just pull. You can just copy that. I say I want this armor. Boom. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna put this in my castle build right there or whatever. Or if you just want to quickly change your outfit, I mean, yeah, you could come through these commands and spawn object and say, armor, bronze, chest, or whatever, and do each individual piece. Or you could just come here, and there you go. Everything, all the armor's here, except for, I think this is my old one. I haven't added the Miscellaneous. I have another palette that I added the Miscellaneous armor. But I like this palette better. I'm going to have to add them to this one. So there's my armor palette. Let's just come back here, go delete the armor part, and I'm just going to tab twice to see my next palette. Now check this out. So this is a location in the game. It's called something like marble statues or something. And they spawn in different configurations. But I wanted to have access to all of the different statue. There's 2 of them. So if I wanted to copy a statue individually, I could. And again, That little board I set as, so I know about where the proper height should be. And when Jere gets Infinity Hammer working with the centerpiece, then that'll be the centerpiece, and then I won't have to raise or lower it to set it in the ground. But I set it right there above the ground. So I'm going to place this right here next to that. So that's 2 different palettes right there. Let's see what else we got. Frost Cave Mountains. So this was everything, just about everything added in the Frost Cave update. In all the creative stuff that you find in the Frost Cave that the players can't build themselves. So you've got the 2 different types of treasure chests. You've got right here the oh, you can't see that anymore because they changed the text. See, do I have my circlet? Oh, there you go. It has the code on there for it. Pickable, so you could just copy this code and use it with the hammer or the spawn command. But these items are different every time you spawn them in, even though right now it looks like silver necklaces and this claw. This is a way to get a variation on different loot. Oh yeah, Mike's. You can also play chess with the armor stands over there. They said in my comments. Okay. But yeah, again, it's nice to see the objects when you're going to build them. So here's the stalactite and the stalagmite. I'm getting them reversed. Stalagmite and stalactite. And a broken stalactite, which is this weird shape here. But you can scale these, and you can flatten them and stretch and pull them with commands if you want. Like if I wanted this to be longer, pointier, or flatter, I can make it a giant shape if I want. Check that out. You can have that as a feature. Of course, the bigger you make it, the more obvious the pixelation art is. So you have to decide how big you want it. And then this piece here that I use for the floor, I always use the ice floor from the Frost Caves because it floats. So if I place it somewhere, it will not fall. Unlike here, I like to use these stone floors because they're 4x4s. They're in the game, but not, they're in the code, but not available for players to build. So if I want to use them in creative mode, and they have another texture on the other side too, or they make great walls too if you want to make a wall out of them, which is nice because you have less instances if you use these. But if I place this high, it will fall unless I turn off the gravity physics with the mod or give them infinite health. But this will not. This floats. There are many objects in the game that float. The ice floor, I used to use the big boulders and flatten them out, but the ice floor is a nice square shape, so it works really well. But yeah, check this out. The Lox ribs. Now there are, let's see, you got the broken table. This broken table and this broken chair are the only way to get broken furniture in the game with maximum health. Right now I have them set to infinite health from the blueprint. But it's the only way to get a broken furniture with full health. Otherwise, if you damage your furniture in game, you can get this look, but it'll have very little health, and then a little bit of tiny damage will break it. Skeletal remains, the meat pile, the door that's in there, the bloody door. And then this is cool. I use this in the deep north a lot on some things you'll see. Because one of the things you can do with this is, see how this is that, ice wall that you come into the Frost Caves and you break and it's really weak. I think I have it set to infinite health, but object, if you set health to 0, it'll reset it to default health. So we can see that it only has 50 health, so it'll break really easy. But you remember, if you want to spawn this into the world, automatically with Expand World, you can use that data code or use it as part of a blueprint, and it'll save the health if you want to give it more health. But see how narrow it is right here? So I stretched it out, this left and right. I made it wider, so it's like this. I made it more like this. And these ice sickles that are here, they stick out more. And so I embed this whole thing into an ice rock, and these icicles are sticking out. Looks really cool. You'll see when you go to the deep north if you're playing in my servers. Really cool design feature. And I'm sure you guys will come up with 100 other ways to use all this stuff. The crystal, the pickable crystal, pickable obsidian. Let's see, more blueprints here. Frost Cave. But the reason why I'm showing you this is so important because how do you know what to put into your biomes? How do you know what to populate with your vegetation? How do you know what creative things you can build for your blueprints that you're going to have expand world spread throughout your world? Well, building yourself some palettes or downloading mine. So this is all the goblin pieces. Again, I like to use this floor because I use it a lot. And you see all the goblin pieces that are here. This is great. And of course, there's another version of this if you pick the totem off, right? So you have that version of it too. And you could stack these up and make your own custom totem, whatever you wanted to do, right? That roof piece is a separate piece, and the poles and everything. And because I picked the trophy, it's going to be gone. And when I copy it, it copies. That's one of the things I asked Jere is to copy exactly all the attributes of the thing. Its size, its health, its condition, its contents, just every single thing about the thing, copy it so that I can use it over and over again. And he did that. So right now I'm copying this and it doesn't have the pickable trophy. But if I hammer in another one, hammer totem, goblin totem. See, this one has the totem, and if I copy that one, the next one will have the totem. This one won't because I picked it. So its status is, totem minus pickable. So that's what I get when I copy that. This gets the totem because that's its status. There's these really cool stairs in the game that are kind of like this white wood, white bone material. And then these, this is the fueling ribs, but I added the lox ribs from the Frost Cave to it because it fits this palette. So if I'm only working with this palette, I wanted them available. But this palette was just specifically supposed to have everything in the Frost Caves. And actually, the lox ribs right here are all over my ashland. So I told it, and I have it rotate. There's a parameter in the file to have it rotate. Here, let me show it to you. We come over here to the vegetation. Oh, this is the default vegetation, so I can't show it to you. But basically, there's a rotation setting. See if I can find it. Or not rotation. Oh, tilt right here. Random tilt. So you could tell it to randomly tilt. There's an offset too. So if you have something that's big and you want it to inset into the ground a little bit more, so only a little bit of it sticks up out of the ground, there's an offset parameter as well. So yeah, I have these all over the ashlands because it felt appropriate, burning the flesh off of the things that have been there. Let's see, what other palette do I have? So we did the fueling. Fueling buildings. So this is a big palette. So this is most of the buildings that spawn when you spawn in the fueling locations. So it spawns in random buildings every time in the plains. Spawns in random locations. And I spawned in a whole bunch of those, went around and copied most of the really unique builds. So you've got this. Oh, it looks like this actually has some location data attached to it. Did I forget to delete the location proxy for this one? I might have. Let's see. Object remove ID equals location proxy. That's what every one of Valheim's locations are. They spawn in with a location proxy. Radius equals 30. Yep, it destroyed the location proxy, but it did not reset the land. So let me just level this out. There we go. Some of the buildings collapsed. Jere, that's never happened before. I wonder what changed about Infinity Hammer that it...
Yeah, that looks weird.
Yeah. I guess I didn't delete all the location proxies. I'll have to re-blueprint this one without the location proxies. But then there's also a setting in here to reset so I can have... Well, I don't want it to go back to that, but I can paint the grass. There we go. But so there you go. There's some of the buildings. Some of them collapsed. But yeah. So now I can come over here and with the pipette tool that Jere's provided, if I'm building, which like one of the locations that I built the in my ashlands. I built the ashlands excavation site. I have this tower, I think, on one or both sides of it. So I just came over here, I copy this, I come over here, I place that there. Let's say, oh, I want another one there. And then I want this fence. So I just come over here, I copy this fence like that. And then I can build a wall really quickly. This is a bunch of their little fences all pasted together. I did a curve to match a circle that I had made before, but yeah, there you go. You can create whatever kind of shape you want, and then you can blueprint this whole thing, obviously, and save this as a location, and tell expand world to distribute your location around your world. I love this little hut that I made. I think I made this one, or maybe it was part of theirs. I can't remember now. I've made a few huts in the past. But yeah, so that's one of my blueprints. So now this is not a blueprint that I want, so we're just going to delete all that. And then let's see, I got a couple more palettes, so you can see some of the other things you can add to your world. Fueling buildings, fueling builds. Oh, is this a second one that I have? Looks like it is. Get past the fueling. Oh, giant parts. Okay, this one's cool. So check this out. So this is one of my favorite additions to the game, and this is what I populated the ashlands in the deep north with and some of the other biomes with some of the giant remains. Now these are not to scale. These are not one-to-one scale. I just made them smaller so they're easier. I don't want a giant build palette for all the giant standard size pieces, the one-to-one, like this rib cage. You can see up in the upper left-hand corner if you can read that. If you're on your phone, maybe you can't. But it says like 26%. So if I scale it all the way up to 100 right there, I don't want to build a giant blue palette that has all of these at full scale. So I just shrunk them down, put them here. This is everything that came with the Miscellaneous as far as the giant pieces, the arm, and you could build yourself a little skeleton out of this. Of course, he doesn't have legs, unfortunately, but maybe you could bury the hand in the ground, and then this arm piece is sticking up, and it can look like some short, stubby legs. Or you could make them really long, I guess. Let's see. There you go. There's some legs. And then you grab your rib cage. And you make your rib cage big. And oh, I misplaced it. But you get the idea. You could position all. If you look from here, the perspective is kind of weird, but yeah, these are the two different helmet pieces that they have. Again, shrunk down, the brain or the skull, and then this is the brain with the soft tissue. So yeah. And I built a special, I'll give you a teaser for those of you who've stuck around this far through the video. So I built a blueprint that appears in my real world really rarely in my new Valheim Ancients world. A hammer of these giants that I created myself. Let's see, what's it called? Giant stabbed full. There we go. Reset. So check this out. So this is my version. Now Valheim has their version with the ribs and the skull and the sword stabbing it, and of course some. Oh, and you can see there's my mushroom. I used that as my center point. I offset it for some reason. I must have had a reason. I don't remember. Because of the hand on this one. That's right. So I tilted the head. I added the helmet. And I had the arm stick out of the ground. So this is my custom giant remains that I created as a blueprint, put it in the location YAML, and now it spawns around the world using expand world. And you want to decide if in the settings you can have it flatten out the area and how much, and blend it with the area out, on the edges, or you can have it just spawn directly in and have it partially buried in the terrain. And if you use a setting that doesn't go on too steep a terrain, then hopefully it won't be buried too far into the terrain. So yeah, that's one of my custom locations. Many custom locations in my Season 4 world. Let's see, another palette that I've got here. Giant remain palette. Giant parts. Hammer crafting items. Okay, so in the crafting menu, there's all the pieces that you can... Sometimes, if you're looking for a specific thing, or you just need ideas for something, it's nice to just have everything right there. Now, yeah, you could come into here every time you do this and place every one of these objects. But why would you want to do that every time? Just build yourself a palette, download my palette, and you have all these objects. And something I started to do, but I don't think I finished the blueprint yet. So I started to take some of these things too and lay them on their sides, bury them in the ground a little bit. Now look at that. That is a unique shape that I can have sticking out of a wall or a floor that you can't get any other way, right? So I have another palette I'm working on where I flip a lot of things over because you can only do it with admin tools. Look at this table. Isn't that amazing? Upside down. I love it. It looks like a little grill or something. Maybe you could put a campfire in there too, and then you can have yourself a little grill. These things don't scale. Or, if you bury it in the ground a little bit, you have that look or that look. Or you put that on the side of a wall, right? If you have a wall set up, you could have it inside the wall. And then you blueprint all this stuff and have it in Expand World. Look at that. Isn't that cool? I'm sure you guys could think of a million different things to do with these things, but yeah, somebody told me to flip some piece over a long time ago. I flipped it over and I was like, oh, that looks really cool. Oh, you know what? I think it was this oven. Yeah, it was the oven. They built a whole wall with this brick texture, right? And that's how I got to think, oh, maybe we should flip these things over and see what they look like, the other textures. And then you have those textures to build with and different perspectives on shapes, doing different creative stuff for all these things. This thing, I think, looked interesting upside down, too. And you bury it in the ground. So you got yourself a little circular... although you kind of clip through it. But yeah, so this is another build palette. You can see why it would be really handy in builds, creative builds. Let's see what else. Giant parts, crafting items, frost pieces. Oh, yes. So because I was working on my Deep North, I didn't need all these pieces that you see there. I just needed frost pieces. So this was every piece that looked like ice or frost in the game. So you got the crystals, you got the stalactite, the stalagmite, this one called a broken stalagmite. This ice one, which moves and breaks really easily. And, oh, here's the example. So I shrunk, because this shrinks too. You can make this really big if you want, or really small. But here's what I was talking about when I elongated it and made it thicker, right? So that these icicles would stick out of my walls, my ice block. So if here, see ice rock 1, which is actually these 3 ice rocks. Remember what I was talking about? You don't want your build palettes too big. If the object scales down, just scale it down. And this is the same one, I think, scaled at evenly. So it's all 1-to-1 scale, but scaled down to 10%. But rotated in different positions because you can see it has a different shape. So if you want something to stick up and have more of a point, or you want to see the flat side, I should probably flip it up the other way too. You have that. So, when you're building, you want ideas for shapes, right? But if I have my ice rock here, and I have this in the the deep north or on some ice build I'm building, I like to take this here and then scale it. Actually, I'm going to turn on extra rotations because with Gizmo, you can see I get to 16 to 32 rotation points. And then I can use a command to slide it into the wall. And if you place pretty carefully, you know, like look at that. Now it adds some life to this rock. And so this is actually part of my ice pillar and my ice towers. They have the ice rocks very meticulously placed and shaped. And then they have this feature here sticking out on it. And then, you know, you come up again to the pipette, you select it all, come over here, you can paste it again, or you can blueprint that, and you have this cool rock that you can put around the world. And again, check the health. Right now I have everything set to infinite health, but if you want things to be tougher than normal, you can add health and then blueprint it or then copy it. Jere, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I have a function with the plan build mod that I don't think I have with this mod. You have to let me know. Maybe I'm missing it. But say I want to come over here and I want to just select this piece, and this piece, but not the floor or anything around it. In plan build, I can select individual pieces to add to the highlight, but I can't do that with the pipette, right? Because the pipette just gets everything in the radius.
Yeah. So
I can't select that, and then hit some button, and then just take these three objects over. And
not yet.
Yeah, I wanted to point that out because I don't know if anybody's mentioned that to you before. It's one of the really handy features in plan build because say I just want to take, like I have a really big elaborate build, but I want to take some feature of that build, you know, like these two stairs and those floors, and then I want to duplicate it around. I can't do that with Infinity Hammer right now. I would have to copy the whole thing, delete what I don't want, and then save what I do want, and then paste that around. Plan build, I could just go say select, copy, and then paste it. So something to consider for the future. I'm not sure how you implement that, but when I start building these big locations, I find, ooh, now I need that function because the more elaborate the build, the harder it is to pull out just the little piece that you might want.
Yeah, it should be quite easy to add.
Oh, cool. I'm glad I remembered to mention it because I've actually thought about that months ago, but I keep forgetting to say something about it.
It's actually many people have asked for that. It's like the...
Okay, cool. This is one that Gwen the Shield Maiden, who we all know and love, made. This is all of the... Oh, you know what, Jere? This blueprint is not working. It doesn't have everything on the item stands that it's supposed to have. Something is amiss with this blueprint. I'll have to send you this blueprint because all these item stands had food and different decorations on it. But she wanted to build a palette that had all the kitchen stuff and then all the things in the game that are food or kitchen related that you could decorate a kitchen with. And she even mentions here, so item stand, all items mod is needed. So this would have been things that you cannot put on an item stand without that mod. That's also one of Jere's mods. Item stand, all items mods needed. But yeah, I don't know why this version. Here, let's do a quick test. So if I create an item stand, we'll put it right here on the floor so not to mess up with anything else. Can I put that torch onto that one? Cannot attach this item. Of course, I should have known that. Spawn mushroom. Can I put a mushroom on there? See, I do admin commands so much, I don't even know what I can and can't put on there. Okay, there you go. So I can put that mushroom. Oh, here you go. It's that, remember that thing I was saying where I need to only select a certain area? Oh, I'll just copy the floor too. So I come to the pipette. command. So I'm just going to copy that. So it did that. And let's see if I blueprint this. Hammer, blueprint, mushroom test. Oh, Jere shaking his head over there, saying, nope, that's the wrong command. Hammer save to blueprint it. So I've saved it as a blueprint, and then blueprint will call it back up and places it. So Jere, I wonder if she created this with an older version of item stand all items or something, and that's why all this stuff is missing.
Yeah, I guess it's possible.
I'll send you that blueprint. You can, in your infinite amount of time with family and work and responsibilities and adding the centerpiece to the Infinity Hammer, I'm sure you'll get to it soon. Okay, so this is the kitchen blueprint. It's missing the item stand stuff, but no big deal. Let's see what else. This also gives you ideas for your palettes if you're going to build palettes, so that you can add to them. Hammer, crafting items, kitchen food. Oh, palette miscellaneous. So this is one of my favorite palettes because this is just a bunch of cool miscellaneous stuff in the game. Roots here that are only found in dungeons. It's the only place on there. These are the gray dwarf roots, which are just spectacular looking. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about adding these in the vegetation of my biome. I might have to do that before Season 4 launches, although I don't really have time. I got a bunch of other stuff I need to do, maybe in a future update. And you've got all the different statues. You got the vines, which we all love. We don't have access to in vanilla. This is a mountain kit brazier, the evil statue, the old Miscellaneous skulls, again, the broken chair and table, all the different pickable skeletons, remains, the bloody door, the fences in the dungeons. This is a dungeon door also. This is the braided kit box that you get from the cart when you, or the ship, you know, when you put stuff in the cargo and then you break it, you get this box, which is fun for... This version is called a castle kit one, though, so it's not actually a container. It's just a decorative item, but it bounces around is the problem with it. Just like this barrel. So I don't really use these as decoration because they don't stay and the players knock it over. Same with this chest, too. This was an asset that they got from some asset store way back in development, and it bounces around, too, really crazy. So you could play like a soccer game with these objects. The offering bowl that's on the Yagluth. It doesn't scale, but it looks cool. You might be able to do some neat builds with it. Glowing mushroom, the different torches, the circling core. I need to add the new black core to that. The beehive. And this Gucksack's one of my favorites because it glows at night and it can be rescaled. And you can flatten it and reshape it, make it really pointy, whatever you want. You can flip it over. It's got an interesting shape also. I gotta find, oh, there you go. So different things you can do with that. So that's another build palette. It just reminds me of all the different things that are in the game. Let's see. I got to miscellaneous. Miscellaneous creep props. Okay, so this is a cool one. This was just added with the Miscellaneous. So I added another build palette, obviously. And some of these things actually appear in the Miscellaneous. So these are all one shape, and they all scale. But I just flipped them over and rotated them so that I can see what the different configurations look like. Same too with these things here. I flipped them over to get an idea of what kind of things you can make out of them. But yeah, that's all the stuff. Those are from the dungeons, obviously, in the Miscellaneous. Let's see what else I got. Miscellaneous. Oh, the Dwerger stuff. Here you go. I should have added that new black core to this build or one of these builds, but So there's actually one piece missing from this. I think it's called like an arch. I forgot to add. Not marble art. Darkwood art? No, not darkwood, obviously. There's a Dwerger arch. This, no, not that one. Oh, this is a stone piece. Yeah, there's a few pieces from the dungeon. I need to make another build palette with the dungeon pieces. Maybe I'll put the black core one on there. But this piece is amazing with that, you know, metal band around it. The statue heads, the bronze statue heads, some of the boards, the big chain, the pillar. This is actually a chest, a functional chest that can open and close, that could be in a floor piece. That's not in game anywhere. The banners, obviously, the blue banners, the shelves, the two chests. This chest cannot be protected by a ward or a Dwerger ward. This chest can be protected by a player ward or a Dwerger ward. So if this chest exists with a ward nearby, players can still open it. And that's actually the case for most treasure chests, except this treasure chest here. Sorry, I've been talking for a while. My throat's starting to itch. The prop axe that you can get, the pickup lantern, and then this is the solid lantern that you can decorate with that the players cannot pick up. So if you just want for decoration, you want to use that one. The tankard, the little tower, which is called a black marble post, the door before they added the door. The crate, which this, you want to be careful about decorating with this crate, because if you don't give it infinite health, the players break it and they get a bunch of soft tissue. So it just depends on what you want. Same thing with this cool looking component crate. They get, what's that thing called? I forget now. The thing you stick in the trees. But yeah, that's in there. So if you're decorating with that, make sure you give it infinite health. The barrel, which we can't make. This thing is awesome looking. The bookshelf too, the little shelf, and the wagon. So yep. And the unique stairs, the spiral stairs, and these are different than the player stairs. And this stair has a little bit different texture on it. So build your locations with those, and use Expand World to place them. I need more space. Oh no. There we go. Let's see. I think I might have a couple more build palettes that you'll want to be familiar with or make yourself. Mrs. Dwerger. Oh, music. Yes. Oh, this is a great one when I discovered this. Okay, so there's music in Valheim, right? Okay, I'm going to turn my sound up so you guys can hear this. So, Jere, I don't think you can hear my game in Discord. But watch when I walk up to this. See that? Now I'm gone. You don't hear the music. And music again. Okay, how did I do that? Well, there's objects in the game. Only a few, because most of the music in the game is attached to the location, which you can use. So you can use the location music if you spawn in Valheim's location. It has the location proxy, which manipulates the terrain to fit the build. But there's also music attached to that location proxy. So then you just build on that, blueprint the whole thing. You get the location proxy, which automatically modifies the terrain, the music, and your build is on that. Your blueprint's on that. But if you just want to add your own music, and I added fireflies to this poll too, and right here. So this is the song playing here, and it's Music Meadows Village Farm. Music Grey Dwarf Camp. Black Forest Location Music, Music Mountain Cottage, Frost Cave Shrine Reveal, Music Stonehenge, and Music Feeling Camp. These are the only location musics in the game that are objects that I've been able to find. So you can copy it from the sign. So I'm going to come over here, copy that, and then we know that one because it was playing here. Let's get the Frost Cave Shrine Reveal. So I'll come over here. I'll say hammer, Frost Cave Shrine Reveal. Now you can add these to your blueprints. So some of my locations in Season 4 that are spawning automatically with Expand World have this location music to them. So, and you can see there it says selected Frost Cave Shrine Reveal. I got to turn my music back up. Oh, on my streamer deck, I muted it. So I'll place it. I'll move away, come back over. I should probably turned off sound effects. There we go, so you hear the music better. See that? Now you can't see where you place it, and if you spawn this in with standard commands without the mods, if you use the spawn and you spawn this in, you can't delete it because their delete command won't delete this. I've already tried. You have to use Jure's mods to delete it. So you can hit undo to get rid of it. You can do object, remove, ID equals Frost Cave Shrine Reveal, and then do a radius if you don't remember, if you can't undo it because you logged out. Once you log out and you log back in, you can't undo anymore, obviously. So yeah, I removed it, so it's gone. But there you go. There's a build palette for music. I bet you didn't think you were going to see that today. I just discovered that recently. Build palette. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we got to all the way to music. What else I got in here? Music. Oh, random loot. Okay, so if you place these, it's called pickable random food, pickable mountain cave random, and pickable sunken crypt random, pickable forest crypt random. So these objects here will spawn differently every time, and I'll prove it to you. I'll spawn another one right next to it. So if you place these in your build, it's a good way to have a variety of objects if you use the random loots. So let's see. Did it spawn differently? Yeah, it did. So yeah, look, 3 necklaces and a Fenris hair. And what did we get this time? We got 1 necklace, 2 Fenris here, and coins. Now each one of these is that same object. So they're just all spawning randomly. The food does too. You can see we have over here this stuff, but here we have some blueberries and some different things. So this is a way to get a little variation in decoration and or loot for your players if you want that. Let's see, I got the random loot. Gotta tab through each of these. Oh, treasure chests. So here's all the different treasure chests in the game, minus the Dwarger ones I haven't added to this palette. And again, so you see up in the code it says treasure chest Black Forest. This is F Crypt, Forest Crypt, and they have different loot, and these actually will spawn in with different loot every time as well. If you copy the code and you spawn them in, they'll have different loot every time, just like these tables have different loot on them every time. However, if you copy it with Infinity Hammer, remember that part where I told you that Jere made it copy the stats of the object and then paste it exactly? So if I look in here, that's got these 3 objects, I copy it and I paste it. It has those same 3 objects, but it's called Treasure Chest Mountains. If I spawn it in or hammer it in, hammer Treasure Chest Mountains, it'll have different loot. See, there's loot. Then you have to do the command again because it remembers the previous one. So do it again and then spawn it again. And see, now it has different loot. Do the command again. So it's random loot every time. Unless you copy the chest directly. So there's that. Let's see, I don't think I have too many more pallets. There's a bunch more palettes I want to make, though. Creep, treasure chests, and we're back to armor. So that's all of them. Okay, so now I'm going to show you upgrade world. Zones, reset. I'm going to choose the zone I want to reset. I'm going to choose biomes, or the biome I mean. I'm going to choose ashlands. Then it says start, and you can start or stop it while it's working. I'm going to say start. Look at that. Everything gone because it reset this biome. Now that's because there's a feature in the config where you can set it to save or to protect player structures. So I have a whole list of player structures that I protect. I can show you that list somewhere. Profiles. Yeah, you see, it'll protect as many zones as you put in the config. And I recommend you always have that set to 3 if you don't want to destroy your player building. So so right here, I've added all of the things that this is the default value, which has a lot. But I added a lot of the other things, and I removed workbenches, or not workbenches. I removed campfires because players leave campfires all over the place, and then I can't reset those areas for them to have new resources to gather because they placed a campfire down. But all these things, and then right here, all that stuff that I had pasted there would have been protected and would not have despawned within 3 zones, which would have covered all of that because some of the player-built objects were in there. Remember those palettes where I have the player-built objects, like the incinerator, workbench, all this stuff? Those were in some of those palettes. So the zone would not have reset around there. It would reset everything outside of those zones. But I have safe zones set to 0 right now because I'm doing extensive biome reset testing. So I just want everything to reset back to normal, and that's here in Upgrade World. Set this to 0. Jere has it set to 2 by default, but actually I would suggest, Jere, that you set it to 3. Oh wait, no, 2 is right because that gives you the 3x3 zone. So he has it right. That's what you want. That's what I meant. You want it set to the 3x3 zone, which is 2, the setting for 2. And if you want 5x5 zones, 3, etc. But really, a player base doesn't usually extend too far beyond one zone. The reason why you don't want only the one zone to be protected is because the player could have things just outside their base that's part of their base but not protected by one of these things up here. And then so that would get deleted. So if you set it to a 3x3 zone from any one of these items, most likely it won't get reset. Now, if they build roads, those will all get reset. All the roads will get reset unless they have one of these items. And torches and some other things are up here. But you could also choose a thing. And if you have a server, you could tell your players, make sure you've got this on your road and make sure that item is on this list so that their roads don't get wiped like you just saw. Everything here got deleted if you want to preserve your roads and you want to do resets to, for whatever reason, usually to, get resources back on your server, to respawn resources.
And there is no undo for that.
Yes, I found that out the hard way. But I mean, I'm sure there's a lot going on there, so I can understand why. That's a good thing to point out, though. No undo for zone reset. Okay, so now we're going to come over here. I'm going to show you quickly how to manipulate a biome and start adding stuff. So here's the ashlands. There's nothing in it. I'm going to come to vegetation. I'm going to see this heath rock pillar. Now, this only exists in the plains. Now, I could copy and paste this here. And then change this to ashlands. Get my fingers on the keyboard. And now it's set to do a heath rock pillar in the ashlands. Let me save the file. I'm going to do zone reset. I'm going to hit start. And there you go. They're starting to spawn. See? Check that out. That easy. There you go. Tutorial done. Go make your amazing worlds. That's how you do it. But so there's obviously lots of different parameters. Do I want more of these to spawn closer together? I don't think these scale. Yeah, these ones don't scale, so you can't make them bigger or smaller. You can change their rotation, though. Let's see. Random tilt 15. Nah, we want them to randomly tilt more. So I'm building my custom zone. I want them to randomly tilt even more. Give it a few seconds, and there you go. But now you run into the problem where the bottom is starting to get exposed, and this square doesn't look very immersive. It doesn't look nice. So you get to come back here, and you have to say ground offset. I'm going to say ground offset 8. And now, of course, they'll be shorter. But this is how quickly and easily it is to build a custom world with vegetation. This easy. And you just go through every single object in the game you can add to your vegetation and start adding to the world. So here you go. This went in the ground now, not exposed. See, it looks pretty cool. You could start building a custom ashlands around this object. And so is this set to a forest setting? It is. Okay, so this thing called max forest threshold. And basically, I have to read the description on that again to remind myself what it means. Let's see, max forest.
You can see it on the map if you open the mini-map. You can see it like meadows.
On the mini-map?
Yeah, on the map, on the meadows, you can see those trees.
Oh yeah, so in the meadows, the clear area here is not a forest, and this area is a forest. And that just gets assigned randomly, doesn't it, Jere?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the code, it defines areas as forest or not forest. So if you want certain things to only spawn in a forest, like in my ashlands, I have those short spiky rocks, and those are spawning in the forest and a little beyond the forest. So depending on the setting here, you can have it spawn more or less in the forest or not in the forest. If I take this off, though, watch the change. So before I save this file, I'm just going to show you. See, there's this big empty area here. So if I don't want it to spawn, have any forest restrictions, and I do this, it'll start spawning all over the place. Oh, it still left this area blank. Maybe I need to assign a different forest, or maybe it's still generating, because it has to generate the whole zone. So let's come back here and do. I just want to show you what some of the different values do. So I'm going to set it to 8, because the reset does happen pretty quickly. It doesn't have the in forest command even on here. In forest, yes, or no, true, right? I want to say yes, do it in there. And actually not having the minimum changes how it functions. So you try with and without, minimum with and without maximum, and you'll get different values. Or different, distributions, and it's all a test. Oh, you know what, Jere? I'm not saying. Oh, wait, there we go. I didn't say. I'm so curious why it's not spawning over here.
Yeah, that looks a bit weird.
I'm going to look at one of my rocks. Creep rock. I'm going to find one of my rocks that I have spawning in here. Oh yeah, so here, this is, I'm going to show you the settings for this. So that's the settings for mine. Let's bring that in here. Go down to the bottom. I'm going to add this. So this is my rock forest. I have it set to in forest and a forest threshold of 1.5. I'm going to save that. I'll reset the zone. Oh, there you go. So see, this is the forest area. Remember all that blank area? This is the forest area. Oh, I have the threshold set really high on this. Threshold max. Let me go down on that. 0.5. So this is all, like I said, it's all trial and error. So you get something that you kind of like. I also don't have... oh, it didn't spawn any of them for that setting. Too low. 1.5. Let's add a minimum. So I don't want to bore you too much with testing, but you have to test this stuff to see how it works. And 1. That should be a little different than the first time. Oh, so that area is the forest. And this area is not the forest, it looks like. That would make sense then, huh, Jere? See how this stuff is spawning over here? This is part of the forest, and this is not part of the forest. And this is the forest. So for that heath rock pillar, if I say false, should it spawn outside the forest? I don't know, though. Heath rock pillar has strange behavior I've not seen before. So let's not do the heath rock pillar. There's so many other prefabs in the game that are cool to use. But that's how, like, I created in my Ashlands a rock forest. And that's how I got these little spiky rocks. And then other things spawning in the non-forest parts. Like my bigger, like my really tall rocks are in this area, so that they don't overlap with these. But so you can imagine how you would create your own, right? And I just did that. I just added this one right here. You know, you can lower the level so that it's more sparse if this is too dense for you and you don't want it as dense. There you go. Less dense. You can add pickables to the ground so the players have wood or stone or mushrooms or any of the plants that you want. And you can do this to any biome too. You add this to any biome. Let me go to another biome and show you. So you get the idea. So you can see how I built up my Ashlands piece by piece with all of this. I'm just going to come over here to the meadows and show you how you can just add stuff to the meadows like I had stuff in my meadows. I'm going to... Oh, we're getting game music. We'll turn that off. So I'm going to actually, those rocks that you saw, I'm going to add those to my meadows to show you what meadows looks like with some really jagged looking rocks. And oh, Ashlands right there. So we're going to change this to meadows. We hit save. Come over here. We'll do a reset biome, but this time we're going to say meadows and start. And there you go. You can spawn in your vegetation anything in your world that you want. And I have it really dense here just to make sure that you can fully see it. It's pretty cool, actually, to have a meadows like this. Just depends on the theme of the world that you're going for, right? Have it more sparse. Have it so it. What's spawning over here too? Also, the threshold. You know what? So here's what you can do too. So if you want it to spawn so see how infrequently the oak trees spawn? I go and I look at the settings for the oak tree, and then I copy those and then tweak them from there. Or any other object in the game. If you like how often it spawns, how dense or less dense it is, copy its settings and then tweak from there. But if we look at the beach 1 tree, we'll copy the beach 1 tree settings from the meadows for that rock. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to add that.
Can you show a spawner?
Can I show you what?
Spawner. To spawn some mobs, creatures.
Oh, yeah, mobs too, right? Okay, yeah, we'll add mobs here too. So I'm going to add this location here. And so now this location should spawn in with all those trees. And for this, I'm going to spawn in mobs. What mobs should we spawn in? Let's see, what do we... let's do wolves. So there should be a ton of wolves because you saw how sparse it was. Let's lower that down though, so there's not too many. But now this will be wolves all over the place right now. So this is not a spawner. This is the actual wolf itself. Then I'll show you the spawner afterwards. Start. Oh, they're huge. I forgot to change their size. I just want to go in and do that real quick. And the wolf doesn't need scaling, so. That's how easy it is to just make a quick change. I saw something I didn't like. The rocks were too big. I just quickly made the change and refresh the zone, and there you go. So now all the rocks are spawning in with the trees. See this? All with the trees. It's the best way to do it. Copy something that you see is doing what you want and then tweak it from there. But then the wolves should be spawning elsewhere. So here's a wolf. There's some wolves. So there you go. This is how you can populate any biome with the mobs that you want. I do recommend, mobs have factions that they like, so you can see. I have a hotkey bound to object info, just this command here, object info, and it'll tell you the info on the creature or the object. But this one is faction to mountain monsters, as where everything else in this biome I think is faction to forest creatures or something. Let me turn on my ESP, which is great if you want to know where your spawn points are. Now you can see the in-game default spawn points and any spawn points that you add. So this is for spawn one-time spawners. This is for respawners. And zone corner raise is if you want to see the corners of each 64 by 64 zone. I'm not going to turn those on for this because I don't want it to confuse. Now, it'll load eventually, but if you leave the zone and come back, it loads much faster. So I'm just going to leave the zone. I'm going to teleport back over to that area. Now you won't see any spawners yet because we didn't spawn them in, but we're now going to add them. We're going to add... so what do we want the wolves to fight, Jere? How about trolls?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
We were both thinking trolls. Hammer, spawner, troll. So just to get the exact code, I do it in game a lot of times. So there, spawner, troll. I'm going to leave it like that, I think. And I will give them a little bit more because the wolves are tough. There we go. So there'll be a few more trolls, but that's the spawner. So in admin mode, in ghost mode, you will not see creatures with only spawners. You'll see the mob, the wolf, because it spawned in vegetation as the actual creature. But if you use the spawner, you'll see just the line if you have ESP running. So did I save this file? Okay, let's regenerate the zone. Meadows, start. And am I in ghost mode? Okay, so one spawned because I wasn't in ghost mode. But so here's the line that I was talking about. And let me change the time of day, make it a little easier to see. There you go. So, and if I come up to it with my... Oh, I don't have the other details about... But so there you go. You can see where it spawned. And if you go around, there you go. More are popping in. See this? Where are the wolves at? Did I... Oh, I deleted the wolves, Jere. No trolls fighting wolves. I wrote over it. Okay, let's add them in. Add the wolf back in. I could add the wolf spawner, but say like I wanted to add a wolf with certain stars and certain health, and I would insert its data code here. I can't do that to spawners, unfortunately. But I can if I want the wolf to have specific health. So if I was just going to do normal wolves, I would use the wolf spawner. If I was going to use, a special wolf, I would use the wolf itself and use the data code that I explained earlier. Okay, so now we have both. Let's reset it. Meadows, start. Oh, there we go. So there's wolves all over the place. And see these red lines coming in too? These are the trolls. So as soon as I come out of ghost mode, see, trolls, lots of trolls coming in, lots of wolves. Okay, I'm going to come out of ghost mode, and there you go. Chaos will ensue. Now, this could happen for your players if you want like a zone where there's battle, where there's conflict. They could walk into a zone, spawn in both enemies, and those enemies will start fighting. And then you have this chaotic battle. And if you have like some great ruined structure, or maybe even like a structure that's not ruined yet, imagine having a battle happening in the structure or around the structure as the player comes up to it. That could be fun for an event for the player to witness or, partake in. I think we might have a few more trolls than wolves. The wolves are taking, it looks like the trolls are winning. Let's see. What else should we cover, Jere? That's vegetation in a nutshell. That's how you do all the vegetation settings. And again, I have on my file this, but this is on Jere's site. Jere, I might consider adding these as comments in the default file, because like I kept having to go back and forth between the website, and I finally just added it to the file. Might be good. And for the locations, I think I did it also.
Yeah, I guess, that's a good idea. So then people can see them without going to the documentation.
Yeah. So yeah, here's my vegetation file and my location file, and it's got all the parameters there, so you can read over them. And some of them are still a little mysterious, like the one that has question marks on it somewhere. Right here, force placement. I haven't tested it to see what it does. Yeah, and locations, it's the same way. They have their data, and here's something fun. Watch this. Vendor. So he's called the vendor. Haldor in the code. He's prefab vendor Black Forest. I mean, that's the whole location. Right? As an object, Haldor himself is just Haldor, but the location is called Vendor Black Forest. So in a default world, Vendor spawns in with this setting here. There's 10 of them, right? There's 10 possible locations where Haldor can spawn. And when you find one, the others delete. But you can add that functionality to any location if you want. with this setting right here called unique equals true. If you want to add a whole bunch of locations that all disappear when somebody finds one of them, there you go. You add this unique true. What I did in my season 4 world starting on this Friday was I set this to false for Haldor, and I lowered this to 6. So there are 6 Haldor locations on my server all over the place. But not only that, you have this parameter called icon placed when you find them. You know how when you find Haldor, that icon just appears and it's always there? I deleted this. So there's no icon for Haldor, but there are 6 Haldors in my world. So, when you have a multiplayer server, it's nice to have a little bit more of some things. Let's see. Let's see if there's any questions. Kondo, let's see. Oh, Jeremiah says, that Zydax PC you have is pretty quick. Yeah, it is. I do have a Zydax. Zydax is my sponsor if you guys want to support me. And you need a new computer or laptop, just go to jiroctheviking.com/Zydax and get yourself a custom ordered PC or one ready-to-made PC. Lifetime parts and service warranty. Okay, commercial over. Kondo says, do clients need to have expand world or upgrade world installed as well? No. So there's 2 ways you can run a server with this, like I am for my season 4. You can build your entire world, like say this is the world. We want trolls and wolves in the meadows, and we want rocks in the forest like this, or whatever you build for your world. And then you're ready to publish it to your server. Well, of course, Gportal is my sponsor. You can save 10% with my link, but I know a lot about Gportal. So if you have questions, I can try to help you if you come into my Discord and you want to know how to set up things. A lot of my admins know how to use it as well, Gportal, with mods or not. But you don't need mods. And there's 2 ways to do it for your players. For this world, I want to take this world or my season 4 world. I want the players to play it without mods. 2 ways. One is you can generate the whole world. So zones, generate, and then you can say biomes, and you can put in all the biomes. Jere, is there a way to just generate the entire world without listing out each biome?
Yeah, just don't list anything.
Okay. Yeah, so if I don't list any biomes, it'll just generate everything. So what generate does is, you can see right there in the description, if you can read that, it says pre-generates areas without having to visit them. So when you visit an area, the objects get rendered in. So the specialty items that I have assigned to the areas get rendered in. And then when the players come to visit, they'll be there because they're only vanilla objects, no mods needed, right? If you don't pre-generate your world first, and you load this world to your server, the players will go into a new area that hasn't been pre-generated and won't see any of your new content if you haven't pre-generated the world, unless you install Expand World on the server. And I recommend installing Upgrade World too, so you can do zone resets. But that, as a minimum, right, you need Expand World.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with those configuration files that I showed you here, if you install Expand World and these configuration files, then you can have a completely vanilla world, people with no mods, and they can walk around and start, like, see, here I am walking and it's spawning in stuff. And they're spawning more trolls and more wolves and more trolls and more wolves as I walk. And of course, these spiky rocks in the forest. And this will just go on forever because I have so many in this test configuration. So 2 ways: pre-generate your world, which is the way that I'm going to do a world for people to download if they want, so they don't have to deal with mods. Because I know a lot of people don't want to deal with mods, right? You want to deal with any mods? Sure, no problem. It's super easy. Come to my Discord. We can try to help you with it. But if you don't want to deal with any mods and you just want to take a world file and put it in your folder, I'm going to try to have that available for my patrons as well. Got to get all my servers set up and running and make sure everything's going fine. But yeah, in the future, I'll have a world file set up as well. So let's see if we have any more questions here. Can you change environment lighting, like make the swamp not dark and rainy? You can, but you can't for vanilla players, for people without mods, Right, Jere? You can change that environment, but you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can change the environment, but the player would then have to have the mod installed rather than just the server or a pre-generated world. They would have to have the actual mod installed. And like I tried it, we have a modded server where players have to have mods installed, but most of my servers are vanilla because I think it gives the most people access to them if they don't want to deal with mods. Let's see. Any other questions? Yep, I think we got all the questions. You guys have any more questions? Let me know real quick. I think we're about to close up. I know it's getting late for Jere. He's staying up late for us here. What is it, like 1 a.m. for you, Jere?
Yeah, 1 a.m.
Yeah. I kept you up too late, but thank you for joining and answering questions. And again, if you guys have questions, come to Discord, ask. You can tag Jere there. He's pretty active there when he sees somebody get pinged over there. And again, if you want to sign up for my Season 4 server, we are launching Friday, but we are going to be resetting zones if things get too sparse for players, so that there's more loot and more resources for you. Just sign up at my website. We have an application you can fill out. And JirocTheViking.com, or ask questions if you want. We have something like 1,500 players on my Discord. So come over, discord.gg/JirocTheViking. I'm there. Jere's there. Jere, any last thoughts before we go?
Yes, go download the mod and make the download count bigger.
Yes, make that download count bigger. So Jere has bragging rights for that, and start messing with it with your vanilla worlds. You'll have a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool things you can do, and we can try to answer your questions on my Discord. Let's see. We got one question came in. How do I get the solo download version of the Valheim Ancients? Yeah, that will be available in the future at some point when I can have time for after I get my servers running. And initially it'll be available to my patrons for download. And I have lots of downloads. I have my Season 1 server, my Season 2 server, both actually like 2 or 3 versions of my Season 2 server, a no map, a hardcore, and a regular mode. I have all my build palettes. I have a lot of really cool buildings and lots of other things. Some other settings files and things that people have asked for over the months. But yeah, lots of cool, and it's available for my patrons. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching my channel. And until next time, everybody, have fun out there.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.